It is.
All right, we are. I would like to. Order.
Mayor, for some reason, we can't hear you. It keeps going in and out, unless it's just me.
Nope,
No.
not you. I can't hear anything.
I have new technology here, which I'm not sure why I want to be working. Testing 1, 2, 3. Does that help?
Not very much.
Not very much. Is the microphone over here at my.
I feel like it's better when you're on that side of, on that side. When you move to the other side, you fade out.
About
If you
this,
just-
testing,
yeah.
testing. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, well, let me just go ahead and turn the meeting over to Amy Wharton for her presentation. How about that?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So just a follow-up from our October 24th meeting, just where we are with the budget, the general fund, enterprise funds budget, tourism budgets, and our stormwater budget. When we last met for general fund enterprise funds, we were about $997,000 out, but we were still reviewing some revenues. And we felt like that they would cover that once we finish finalizing those. And we did. So we're at a balanced budget now. Just finalized a review of fees that we talked about, finalized reserves, and identified other funding sources for some of our expenditures, like reserves and some hospitality, municipal accommodations, tax funding. Any questions? I'll go into more detail. So general fund, you see it's at 11.2 deficit. With the enterprise funds, it balances.
Can y'all hear me better now? I switched over to a different microphone.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mayor.
That's good.
Yes. That's better.
Okay.
Yes.
So Amy, did we take into account the business license adjustment we were going to make to our accommodations businesses?
To an extent, Mayor, but because we don't have a lot of that work in, not completely.
Okay. But somewhat?
Somewhat.
Okay.
We tend with new fees, we're a little conservative on that side just because we're not sure. So we always with newer fees or when we're increasing fees, we tend to be a little bit on the conservative side just to make sure until we get a good handle on it for a full year. So we budget the next year.
I see.
So just looking at a comparison to 23 to 24, you'll see our revenues in the general fund increased by about $18 million. A lot of that is because of our King Street Gateway TIF and the transfer in from hospitality. And then our expenditures increased by 21.6. For general fund. Any questions?
Anybody got any questions so far?
And I go into it a little bit more detail as we go along. So the largest increases, you see property taxes at 7.4 million. That's mainly due to the King Street Gateway TIF coming back to the general fund. Business licenses, they continue to remain strong. Estimate is still conservative given the performance we've seen over the last couple of years, but feel confident in that estimate. Transfers in is mainly, the increase there is mainly due to the transfer in from the hospitality fee fund. Any questions on that?
Nope.
we're still expecting a good increase in parking revenues. I see a reasonable increase. Is some of that due to the increase we put in place for hotels and
Some of that revenue is included in there, yes, Mayor.
all right, anybody got any questions on any of that? Okay.
All right, go back, went too fast. And this is just a depiction of our, oh, if I wasn't flinging through this so fast. Oh my goodness, sorry, my mouse is very touchy.
I think you went the different way there.
There we go, okay.
Good.
Just a pie chart of our revenues, just to kind of give you a sense of where our largest revenues are. Obviously, it's property taxes and licenses.
Well, that property tax is not quite half. Do you have a percentage on that?
No, but it can, it's probably 47%, but we can do a quick calculation.
Right.
Any questions on that?
So it's pretty good.
Is that state of South Carolina?
Local option sales tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah, it's local option sales tax. And then the expenditure largest increases by function is in public safety and culture and recreation. Public safety is due mainly to salary increases and full year of 15 firefighters for Station 23, plus all their new requests. Culture and recreation is also mainly due to salary increases and all of the new requests, and that's mostly parks and recreation.
So in public safety, you got both fire, police, and emergency management in there?
That's right.
Yeah.
I also have it by department, if everybody's ready to move forward.
Yep. Okay.
And then expenditures by function, you can see general government and public safety are the biggest pieces of the pie. And then by department, you'll see the biggest increases. BFRC is mainly for the ERP system, which is Workday. Fire is for salaries and additional staffing that we talked about in the previous slide. Parks is also new requests and additional staffing. Police is salary increases, and then the non-departmental decrease is we had ARPA funds that we had budgeted in prior years to cover some expenses. We won't have that in 2024. We decreased our salary savings estimate, and it was also the COLA and the pay plan adjustment is much smaller for 2024 than it was in 2023. Any questions?
Bonnie?
The clerk of council, that's including the council members too?
That's right. And then that's a pie chart of expenditures by department. And so what's included for staffing, we funded 49 positions out of the 74 that were requested. You can see here, the largest were both to parks and to the fire department.
In the parks departments, that's full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
And that had an emphasis, I believe, on maintenance staff, and maintenance of our regular parks and also our playing fields, and also, but basically mostly maintenance positions.
That's right. Groundskeepers and trash crews.
I think I see Councilwoman Parker had her hands up, I believe.
Okay, Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Councilmember Mitchell, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, but I think I figured it out. But what were the 7 positions in the parks that were not funded?
I can get you what they were, but we funded most of anything with athletic fields, so the spray technicians, there's 2 crews for emptying trash in parks, things like that. Most of their maintenance positions we funded.
Okay, and then the fire, the 12?
The 12 that weren't funded,
Correct.
some of them are things that we're doing over a period of years. I'd have to get you the exact list for those.
But would you say it's more administrative than?
No, they're not administrative.
Okay, will you let me know?
I will, yes.
Thanks.
I think Councilman Waring.
Councilmember Waring.
Thank you. Amy, does that have, I know there was something we spoke about last year and I thought it was maybe pigeonholed for this year for the fire marshal's office to somehow be combined with the fire department. Where are we on that?
So I'm not exactly sure. I know that HR was working with legal on that. I'm not exactly sure. Most likely that will be included with the compensation study next year. We do have funding available in 2024 as well for those recommendations that come out of the compensation study.
But, you know, last year, wasn't you, but Chief Curiel pretty much said the same thing. He said, we're going to study. The last year was actually this year. Last year, this time, we thought it would be part of this. And it seems like I thought we had the money pigeonholed pending Mr. Mayor something with legal, but I mean, do you know any more about it, Mr. Mayor, that you can share? That
I thought that we had for this coming 24 included the fire marshals with the fire department pay plan. There was a distinction prior to this year. Isn't that included in this budget, Amy? I thought so.
It's
Maybe
not included because we talked to them. That had not been finalized, I don't believe, with legal. And we had talked about it, that it could be included with the compensation study next year. And we would have the funding available to make that happen in 2024, because we do have provision for salary increases in anticipation of what the compensation study shows us next year.
Rick, you got?
No, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say what Amy said. I think we're holding some funds aside based on the comp study to make sure we do it correctly. But I think the goal is to get it done, but just to make sure we get it done correctly.
I got you. All right.
But let me ask this: why does it take so long or why is it taking so long for legal to figure this one out? The reason I'm saying that, I think we all were kind of caught with our pants down a little bit, you know, with the fire department and the signs in yards. There's still some signs in yards, not as much as they were, about, you know, treating our fire personnel at that time fairly. And I want to hope we had all that kind of stuff behind us. So, and I know there's a little disconcernment with that issue. As I said, we were talking about it last year this time. So,
Councilman, this is Dudley. I did have a conversation with the chief, I think last week on this issue. And he appears to be satisfied with the approach for 2024 after the study and after they complete whatever they have to do with legal. At least that's what he told me in my latest discussion with him. That he appears to be.
The chief just signed on, Councilman.
Pardon?
The chief just signed on. If he can address.
Is he on now?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Let me yield to the chief. Thank you, Chief.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. The last conversation I had was that the practical thing to do would be to wait for the salary study to be concluded, and that it would be possible in 2024 to roll the fire marshals into the fire pay plan, possibly mid-year, so it wouldn't have to go through another budget cycle and another budget request.
Okay.
Given the fact that there's going to be a large salary study, I agree with what's already been said. I just want to make sure it's done correctly, and I'm okay with waiting just a little bit longer, as long as we have a commitment to get it done. And I've conveyed that to Chief Jalazada also.
Okay, good. So we potentially, Ms. Wharton can have a mid-year budget adjustment on that once we get the
Yeah,
study.
like I said, when we're anticipating that there will be some recommendations coming out of this compensation study. So we have reserved some funds to cover that.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
welcome.
Chief. Thank you, Ms. Wharton.
Sure.
Chief, you have our commitment. We're going to get that done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And
Yes,
Chief,
sir.
I
hope,
also talked about that, so.
Chief, I hope I didn't misrepresent our conversation either.
No, sir. I think that's very accurate. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chief and I will make sure that we stay on top of that issue. Okay, so just looking at requests versus what was recommended, you can see we funded 66% of all of total requests, which is pretty good, I think, and 48% of enterprise funds. Do you have any specific questions?
All right.
Okay, everybody good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, and so just to summarize what we funded a little bit, just an overview, for BFRC, it was 2 positions, time clocks for workday implementation at some of our locations, and a citywide space needs assessment. Clerk to council was mainly for increases to council member travel and supplies. Executive was 5 positions, and a study for tidal and inland flooding feasibility study. Fire was 10 positions in addition to the 15 firefighters needed for Station 23, and increases for uniforms and equipment. Housing, main increases was for the Hope Center. Human Resources was for 1 position they needed for our workday implementation. Livability and Tourism was mostly for that 1 position for a livability review board manager that will help manage the board that was created in 2023. And Information Technology is just basically keeping our systems operational. And there was a couple of positions that were added as well. Parks, 15 positions, increases to equipment, and then several projects, just to highlight some: CPD headquarters repair and maintenance, renovation to Fire Station 15, and then smaller projects at several recreation centers. Planning, preservation, and sustainability, we funded 2 positions. And then there were some surveys and professional services contracts that we funded for Rethink Sam Rittenberg, and then the Architectural, Historic, and Cultural Asset Survey that's focused in West Ashley. Police, the majority of that was for 2 positions and an increase to their lease purchase budget. Public service was for increase in sidewalk maintenance funding, overtime and trash collection, and then a position in fleet maintenance. Recreation mostly is for supplies and equipment to ensure our centers have adequate supplies for their programs and to replace outdated and worn equipment. Traffic and transportation, the majority of the increase was for funding studies, 2-way conversion studies from Cumming Street, Ashley Avenue, and Rutledge Avenue, which we all talked about at council one night, retiming of Folly Road and Maybank Highway, and then 2 additional positions in addition to converting 1 position to a higher level position. And then the other is the cost of living adjustment and the pay plan adjustment. And there's no millage increase. Any questions?
Any questions?
So Amy, they'll be looking, Mr. Mayor, they'll be looking at the 2-way conversion for Cumming Street next year.
So So,
Yeah.
so this is just to look at it all again, to specify what exactly would need to be done up and down the street. They're gonna look at two sections, one from Cumming to Line, and then another from Line to Race. But clearly our intent is if we proceed, or when we proceed, will initially just be phase one from Cumming to Line Street. And by the way, when I met with Secretary Hall a couple weeks ago when she was down, I did inform her that we were proceeding with this, and she was fine with it. And you know, the DOT will work with us on this conversion as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because we have to look at it very carefully.
Yep.
Because right when you turn on to the I-26, right between that, you can see where that traffic is there. So I don't know where they're going to start or how they're looking at it. But we have to look at it very seriously with that two-way conversion, if you may.
That's right. That's right. No question about it. Councilmember Seekings, then Waring.
Well, just on that Cumming Street, my understanding coming through the budget process through the committee is that the monies that will be allocated to the budget that finally makes it to council for vote next week is going to include study not just of Cumming, but of Rutledge and Ashley as well.
Okay. Councilmember Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's what when it comes to I saw the cost of living and obviously the pay plan adjustment. Is this the end of the report, or you have another? I don't want to jump ahead. Are we going to do bonuses or anything for our employees? I mean, we finally caught up somewhat last year, and you know our other municipalities, because we're on a calendar year, most of those are on the July 1 to June 30 year. I don't know whether it's a.
We have a bonus. Councilmember Waring, sorry to interrupt. We do have a bonus on Ways and Means Committee at tomorrow afternoon's meeting.
Okay.
12 and 6, right? 1,200.
Yep,
12 and 6.
that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, then I kind of jumped ahead. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't have this in this presentation, Councilmember Waring. It will just be on, it's in the agenda for tomorrow night.
How's that compared to last year?
We did two separate bonuses last year, if you remember. I think it's maybe just a little bit less than it was last year.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
So our 24 draft budget, our next steps, we'll need to send the millage and budget information to the paper by Wednesday, November 15th, and for it to be advertised in Sunday's paper as required by state law. And then the draft budget is due to all of you next week by November 21st. So does anybody have any questions or issues with the draft budget as it stands?
Great job.
Councilmember Seekings, did you still have your hand up, or maybe you didn't take it down from before?
I didn't, sorry.
No problem.
Councilman Gregory, you all helped, remember.
Yes.
And so tourism funds, we briefly talked about them in our October 24th meeting, but I was going to go ahead and show you the draft budgets that we have prepared for them. Right now, as of October 31st, this is where we stand with each of our tourism funds. We're doing okay. You see state aid tax is still under target. So it's trending as we anticipated it would for the rest of the year.
And we are going to take the 15% for affordable housing.
Yes, you'll see that when we talk about the state aid tax budget.
Right.
So moving on, municipality tax, it's 2% for overnight lodging. What's funded, $4 million for maintenance on all parking garages. The total project is estimated at $12 million. updates to the Maritime Center for the Aquarium Learning Center, $250,000 for Brittle Bank Park playground upgrades, $200,000 for the Gilliard Fountain, $250,000 for the Gilliard sound panels. Councilmember Waring, that's where that lies. And then the remainder of the Market Street streetscape project.
Thank you. Let me ask Mr. Mayor a question on the parking garages. This information, that Wentworth Street garage, where I know that's mainly the College of Charleston. What do we have any kind of, what do we know what's gonna happen with that? They're gonna tear it down, fix it? What's the situation?
That was gonna be my question.
But are you referring to the Wentworth Street garage?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Right.
Right. So I think you know, but we own the land, but the college owns the garage, the state does.
Right.
And then further down the street, the St. Philip Street garage, we own the building and the college owns the land. So what should be bringing to council relatively soon, I think we're just waiting for the state budget committee to approve us bringing this to council, get their blessing, is a swap of the land so that we would own the land under our garage and they would own the land under their garage. And they'll owe us a little boot, so to speak, or difference, because the lot they're buying is bigger than the lot we're getting. And then they plan to proceed to tear down the Wentworth Street garage temporarily, and this could be for a year or two, simply use it as surface parking until they come forward with a new development plan for that site, which will include a parking garage, but will also include some other uses. In other words, they could put retail on the ground floor or some office or classroom. They're going to use the property for a little more than parking, but it will be mostly parking. But you know, they want to mix it up a little bit. They haven't finalized their plans, and it will take a while to get it designed and permitted. So my understanding is they want to tear down the garage, which isn't being used now, and just use the surface parking until they are ready to move forward with the project.
Okay, great.
Mm.
Thank you.
This is what the proposed 2024 budget will look like when it comes to y'all. Remember, 2%, 1% property tax relief, and 1% capital projects. So that's why it's split into two separate columns. And there's no amendment coming for the 2023 municipal accommodations budget, so you won't see that. State accommodations, as we've discussed before, we're more conservative with our 2024 projection, just based on what we're seeing this year. What is included is, as required by state law, is the contribution to the CVB, transfer to the general fund, existing agreements and debt service, our city-sponsored events, the visitor center operations dash, and then Councilmember Gregory, 15% of projected revenues will be reserved for workforce housing. And that is what the budget looks like. Now, the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee is meeting on Wednesday to finalize the grant recipients. So we don't have all of the names yet, but all of the organizations that will receive funding, but we will have that when the budget comes to you. First reading or first meeting in December, I mean.
I'll give you a call, Amy.
Okay.
All right.
Were we good?
Yeah, we're good. It's
Okay.
just that I may not be at that meeting.
Okay. Can we have the meeting without you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
we'll talk. I'll
Okay.
be in Atlanta.
Okay.
All right.
It's Zoom.
Yeah, but I want to, because it's at 3, right?
I think
At
so.
4 o'clock. At
Yeah.
4. Yeah, I wanted to see Stacey Abrams at 3:30, I think. So I may not be able to.
Well, just give me a call.
I will.
Okay. Okay, so that is state accommodations. The amended budget for 2023 will also come the first meeting in December. Amendment is basically because the revenues are coming in under what we initially projected, and then we, our Dock Street Theater lighting project came in under what we anticipated. So those are the two amendments to the budget. Hospitality, it includes the transfer into the general fund for the impact of tourism. It includes all the contractual management agreement items that we pay for out of that fund every year, a transfer out to the drainage fund for the Concord Street Pump Station, contribution to the Medal of Honor Foundation, and then also the contribution to the King Street bid that council approved earlier this year. This is a long budget, so it's several pages, but as you can see, these are all the transfers out for most of our other funds, and also for requirements we have, contracts we have with Tennis Center and Ballpark City Market. Our Gilliard Management contribution. Gives facility as well. And then there's the Medal of Honor Foundation. And then operating costs for the Gilliard Center that we pay for out of hospitality fees. And then the debt service for our seawall bond, our hospitality fee revenue bond. And some other items for promotion of tourism. Then the capital projects included is monument preservation, Ashley River Walk Phase 1, and then the head phase for the Army Corps of Engineers project. Amendments to 2023, the revenues coming in higher than we anticipated. The increase for the transfer out to capital improvement fund is the additional funding we provided for the Ashley River Crossing Bridge. So that's that increase. And then we added the Children's Museum maintenance support, and then a tourism, livable communities tourism study with the Historic Charleston Foundation. Those were the main items that we changed for 2023. And then the projects that were in 2023, still monument preservation is every year, the CFD Central Station renovation, and then the Ashley River Crossing Bridge. Stormwater.
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay. There's no fee increases to stormwater. It remains at $11 per ERU. They had 3 specific requests, which were all funded: utility billing system implementation, staff structure adjustments, and a position senior engineering project manager 2. This is also a very long budget, so I condensed it down. That's kind of what it looks like. Total revenue, 13.1 million. Transfers in from drainage fund and Cooper River Bridge for projects. So that's an additional revenue source. And then total expenditures of 12.8 million. We pay their lease purchase expense out of this for their equipment, and then the debt service for the stormwater revenue bond.
Let me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
On this, you know, I know I'm sounding like a old bell on this one, but you know, the late fee, and the people that's non-payment, do we forecast any potential increase in revenues in 24 as a result of making the change in billing, or or going after deadbeat folk who just literally subtract that off of their bill every month and send in the difference? We know who they are. are we gonna have any action steps to
I
go
don't-
after revenue?
I don't know that we are counting any revenue, but I think we're intending to send them a bill, a separate bill.
Okay,
And once we do that, and of course, they've been billed already on their Charleston Water Service billing, but to me, I think if the city gave them a separate notice to catch them up and they don't pay it, then we would turn that over to a collection agency for collection, but I don't think Amy is budgeting that possibility, y'all. It's not a very sure for. I guess we'll get some percentage of it, but it'd be a crapshoot to know how much.
So we do participate in the set up debt with municipal association as well. So when we do have people that have not paid their stormwater fee, it would come out of their income tax return with the state of South Carolina. So we do have that function currently going on. I'm not sure what the feasibility study will show us, Councilmember Waring, but we didn't include any additional revenues because it's a little premature to see where we would be with that right now.
okay.
But I'm for trying to go after it. I'll tell you that. There's no reason not to.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree. We need every dollar we can get.
But we've been talking about it for a while, though.
We have.
Yeah, but we have.
I understand.
We finally have Black and Beach on board,
Okay.
doing the thing for us. So it's going to happen in 24.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
So all of these budgets will come to council at the first meeting in December. And then just unless anybody has any questions on any of those budgets, I just had some additional information to share with you. Okay, so you had questions from the last meeting. I don't have one of the questions answered, but Councilmember Waring, you had asked about the King Street Gateway TIF, the revenue that had been generated. It was $144 million.
Wow.
That was a good one.
Short-term rental accommodations tax revenue, our ability to track it via business licenses. We don't have it exactly. We have to reconcile it to the county's information, which proves difficult because the names don't always match up because sometimes the names of their businesses are different. It's kind of a hard reconciliation process to do, but we're still working with livability in the county on a way to make that easier. So that's a work in progress, just so you know that. And then Councilmember Bowden asked about the 4% COLA that's attributed to the council members, and that number is $14,067. And we're still working on getting the tourism officers assigned with the police department, but I'll get that to you information later.
I think it's 7.
I think it's more than that, Mayor.
No, it's way more than that, man.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean the
And-
police livability?
Yes.
police,
It's
yeah.
like 27.
Department.
Yeah, police is much more than that. Cassandra, would you like to chime in?
Sure, Mayor, and I apologize, Amy. We sent that to Andrew, but it was a little late once y'all started the meeting, so I apologize. We're for team 1, 2, and 9, we're allotted 138 officers. We currently have 112 of those filled.
Okay, how many is just in the tourism? That's team 9. So how many is in team 9?
Team 9 is actual assigned right now is 28
I
officers.
missed it by
That's your
one.
answer. 28.
Okay.
Okay. Bond rating. Since we met, we went through the process with Moody's and S&P for a bond rating for our IPRB bond for the Municipal Operations Center. So they came back. We've maintained our AAA and AA1 with Moody's. And that's just some excerpts, and I'll send you all the reports for that, or from Moody's and from S&P. But we've maintained it. AAA and AA plus from S&P. So we've maintained our bond ratings, just to let you know that.
Good. All right.
And that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Good job.
Nope.
I made
Caroline.
slides,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving colors.
Beautiful,
That's nice.
Even though
beautiful.
it's early, so happy Thanksgiving.
All right, we got a question for Councilmember Parker and then Councilmember Shade.
You're on mute, Councilmember Parker.
Councilmember Parker, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Wharton. Can you remind me again? I know you just said, so it's coming back, first meeting in December, but there was a previous slide. What are the deadlines again? This has to go in the paper.
We have to have the ad to the paper by Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 15th. And then the ad will be in the paper on Sunday. And then we have to have you the draft budget by the 21st, which is next Tuesday.
And council can make changes to the budget, but we have to go ahead and advertise what we're proposing, right?
It's best not to make changes.
That's right.
I mean,
That's not.
that's what we advertise, and we have to re-advertise, and then it gets a little bit troublesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I have a couple follow-up questions. I mean, obviously that's, you know, a week away. I wish we had been able to get these slides prior to this meeting and take a look at everything. But that's where we are. And again, I know I asked this at the previous meeting, so there's no millage increase.
There is not.
Okay. I think last year you had a great slide, you had a great presentation with all the capital projects that were underway, stormwater projects throughout the entire city, kind of showing what projects were going on around the city. Did you do something like that again this year, or is there something that you can show us that kind of shows where?
Trying to remember what I might have done, but we can probably get that to you. I'm trying to remember which meeting that was.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get you want like a pinpoint of all the projects around the city, not necessarily detailed out, or?
Correct. I mean, in your 23 that I'm looking at that we had a couple weeks ago, there were, you know, great slides and showing our expenditures and what we spent, but they didn't, I don't think, specify, you know, particular projects. Some projects, yes. And I could be wrong. I'm looking back through now, but I don't see them. Two final questions. So the council member pay increase, does that have to be included in this, or can it be taken as a separate item?
It's included in our general operating budget.
Have to.
So we can't remove that.
No.
We wouldn't have a balanced budget.
Okay. All right. My final question
That's
is
an ordinance. That's an ordinance as well, Councilmember Parker.
Okay. All right. Thank you. My final question. So the 3.2 million for the Army Corps, basically the next phase of the seawall is included in this budget.
It's in the hospitality budget. Yes. Not the operating budget. It's the hospitality fee budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can we go back to your question about the projects, just because I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're asking. You want 2023 projects that we're working on, or
Can we just do the
So-
capital projects list?
Yeah, like capital projects list. I
Along
mean,
with the stormwater list
it would
together?
be wonderful for both. I mean, 23, I mean, I think we all know what was completed in 23, but I know last year, and I can send it to you if you want me to, so you know what I'm talking about, but it was very specific with what capital projects were going on in West Ashley, Johns Island, Peninsula, what stormwater projects were going on, how much we were spending in each area. It was really helpful.
yeah, would you mind sending that to me? Otherwise, I can send you our capital improvement plan just so you can look at that, and then we'll work on what you're asking for at the same time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that works. And then because ultimately, I mean, you know, it would be nice to see what capital projects we have budgeted for 24 and stormwater projects.
They'll all be on the they're all on the CIP that I'll send you for the larger projects.
Okay. All right. Thank
And
you.
I think when we did that might have been for one of the recreation meetings that you're
Maybe.
talking about. I think for the Parks and Rec bond. I think I remember now.
No, it wasn't for the Parks and Rec
No?
fund, but that should work. And again, I may be the only one that feels this way, but I certainly wish that we had this information sooner. So it's coming to the meeting for first reading and the first meeting in December.
That's right.
Okay. All right. But I mean, I know that we can make changes, but it's not ideal is what you're telling me.
So the budget is balanced, so if you take something away, you gotta add something back, you gotta make it equal on both sides, so it just makes it a little difficult. It's not like you can just add something and not have the revenue for it, or take away an expense and not
Right.
take away revenue, so it's just got to balance.
Right. But and that's where I think that there could have been some genuine good discourse just with where what projects are being what funds are being allocated where.
So most of the projects are in the general operating budget. That's not where they're budgeted. They're budgeted in the capital improvement fund or the hospitality fee fund. That's where those projects are budgeted. They're not necessarily in the operating budget. Some of the smaller projects would be that I mentioned in the slides earlier, but most of what you're talking about, the larger projects, wouldn't be in the general operating budget.
Okay. Well, hopefully with what you send me, my questions will be answered.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Shade?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted the though that we have an internet problem over in my office, and so I've been listening in, and I was able to log in off my phone. So.
Ben?
Thank you.
Oh, he's saying that.
Sandra, can you mute your
Sorry.
mute, please? Thank you. All right. I'm sorry, Councilman Shade.
Councilmember
No, I
Ware?
just wanted to know that my internet's down at my office, and so I've been listening in on the phone, and now I was able to log in off my phone as well.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Welcome.
No questions?
No.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Waring?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just kind of want to throw this out for everybody to kind of get their creative juices going. There's an anonymous donor at the Gilliard who is pledging $6 million if the Gilliard can raise $3 million. And the Gilliard has been doing so. Basically, raise $1, and this donor will put up $2 for every one that's raised. The goal is to increase the endowment by $9 million, obviously. Now there's an expiration to this piece, and the volunteers have been busy about trying to get this. They're up to like maybe 2.3, a little bit better, not quite 2.4 million. So I'm just wondering, we have these allied organizations, obviously the Gilliard, the IAM, the Gibbs, and as they build their endowments, they use some of the income off the endowments to run their operations. For example, the Gilliard probably brings at least 10,000 kids from the region in for exposure to world-class entertainment. Yeah, I think you all heard that the last time, which I think something like 60 or 70% from Title VIII schools. So anyway, if we can find a way, not today or anything, to see how we can help build the Gilliard's foundation. And we also, I would like, while this challenge is afloat, it would be good. The Gilliard's foundation right now is around about 9 million. Okay. So this would carry it to a pretty good level, almost doubling it. But so anyway, I thought I would throw that out. Maybe I can get Lissa to come and do a presentation or something like that. But it's a good challenge that basically strengthens one of our allied groups that helps to build a quality of life in our whole region. Thanks.
Absolutely. So Amy, if I could ask one question, I bet you could produce, you or staff could produce this little report. We we talked in the last few years quite a bit about the difference between the millage and the net millage, particularly over time. It didn't really come up this year because we don't have a millage increase. But do you mind just doing that, extending that chart one more year where you compare, show the millage and the net millage after the LOST effect?
I can do that, yes.
Great, thank you. Council Member Shade, did you come up with a question, or maybe on your phone you had your hand up? Just checking. I bet it's from before. All right, does anybody else have any questions at all? Well, I want to thank Amy and staff one more time for, I think, a remarkable budget year so far. Y'all have done a terrific job. And having that gateway TIF coming back to us for our general fund revenue, I know made a big difference. But Councilmember Waring, that was a poignant question you asked, to see how many millions of dollars were generated by that over, I think it's total a 30-year lifetime, that by the time it got the extension with just the city and county portion, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a 30-year lifetime of infrastructure revenue from the Gateway TIF district. And it made a huge difference in being able to bridge the gap on our Spring Fishburne tunnel project. So those TIF districts really serve an important function when it comes to revitalization and infrastructure.
I couldn't agree more, Mr. Mayor. As a matter of fact, it'll enable us to pivot pretty quickly when the state that we didn't know, infrastructure, or the STIB, whatever to go by now, came up with that 50% grant. And we applied for and got 22.5 million, but we had a match, and thank God for the King Street TIF that we could have turned to.
Absolutely. Councilmember Gregg, did you have a question a moment ago?
Well, I have one other thing I want to follow up on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We did have a surplus for 23.
Well, it's not over yet. We're projecting a surplus, yes.
And that surplus normally, can you explain what would happen in that if we do have a surplus with some of the options?
They typically go to capital projects.
Okay. All right. And if you're, again, it's not over with yet, but if you were to extrapolate out approximately what may be, again, may in quotes, be the size of that surplus.
Way too early.
Oh man, we only like less than 60 days out.
I would play a safe bet that it's over $5 million. Okay.
That's good enough. Thank you, sir.
If history repeats in that sense. Councilmember Gregg?
Yes, sir. With regards to the local option sales tax credit, if Ms. Wharton, if you would be so kind as to include the Berkeley County analysis in addition to the Charleston County analysis, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Got it. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
No, thanks, Amy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Amy.
Good job.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.